We are all sorts of noted down for postings to the YouTubes. Yes. All right. Hmm. All right. For the tier increase, I know we are wanting to do that soon. My intention was to have that increase. It would be 9 to 12, I believe. Yes.
Yeah, it's 1 to 4, 5 to 8, 9 to 12.
Yeah. Um, my intention was to have the tier increase coincide with the player wave drop. Um, yeah, since we're thinking about doing that drop pretty soon. Um, so for that, I'm really hoping this Friday when I go into night audit shift, I will be able to just work on things because I'm not working night audits on Wednesdays anymore. Which was my previously. I'll work on Living World stuff that day. I'm hoping I can do it Friday. Um, and I can get that equipment guide settled up, put on World Anvil, and people can, um, you know, start utilizing the new sheets soon. Yeah, we're gonna need to rework items. Since the armor and weapons are and protective items are already on World Anvil, at the very least we can start that process. Um, it's just like a few other items that are not quite on there yet, namely like enchantments and structures and stuff. That all said, though, that was my hope was to have the tier increase drop by then. If people think we need to do it sooner, that works for me too. I just that was my basic idea was for that. I know another thing on the docket was to get the tick system updated. I'm pretty sure you guys did that while I was away. Um, so I don't think that's needed anymore. Correct me if I'm wrong. Or like GM and staff ticks and stuff like that specifically.
I don't think
Some of
any
it
of
was
that is
updated.
live yet. Yeah, I don't think any of it's live yet, though.
None of it's live. Okay. Well, I know you guys were wanting to change it to be 500, 1,000, 1,500 for Civi, um, Adventurer, and then Perma slot. So I think those values are fine to me. Um, so I think you can post those live, push those into the patch notes. That said, I know people are also wanting to get rid of the Civi slot, and I think that one is going to be a deeper conversation. I'd rather have this with people actually aware there's a meeting because I'm a banana and did not at the team. Also, I am a banana and typoed, so I'm a double banana.
Well, if we're gonna push that permanent slot is 1,500 ticks, what are we doing with everyone who has more?
That is a mighty fine question.
As if people have more ticks, they should be able to spend it on something.
Hmm.
I mean, ticks are already being used by for influence and gold and
No, that's
experience.
not what I mean. The large amount. 'Cause if you have like 3K ticks, that's 1,500 ticks more than a permanent slot.
Yeah.
Yeah. Mm, yeah.
Still don't even know what gives staff ticks, honestly. It's a whole confusing system to me.
We could have it be a maybe at like 3,000 or like 4,000, something like that. Just X number of things you get an additional friend slot that you can provide, so long as you're on staff.
I mean, so
That
long as you're,
probably works.
I don't really see an issue there.
As long as you're on staff and doing the work.
Yeah, I mean that would be a way to continue that tick system going, so people feel like they're still working towards something.
Uh, I do have a Google Doc with all of the the initiate rewording done. Just needs feedback on that for what you want specifically for some of the options.
Gotcha. Yeah, if you can link me that, that'd be cool.
Yeah, let me just grab the actual document from that.
But I think for such large things as like a mind blanking as like a wave drop, a tier increase, I definitely want more people to get their thoughts on, it, especially a lot more DMs who are dealing with the player base and whatnot. For the tick system, I was good with what you guys written down. I would like more feedback on my thought because it's literally just off the cuff. So I think we can push live the current system that you guys have worked on, those updates, and we can further discuss additional tick tiers in a future meeting. Hopefully, I'll be available like Sunday morning or maybe Monday. This new work schedule is fucking weird, man. I'm so confused. Still figuring things out. But outside of that, looking at the other stuff that Legacy posted before I go to other things I know about. And here, Waysherns, yeah, they do incur the border crossing fee as normal. That's why they are listed on the travel downtime activity.
Yeah, it also says that any travel that you make unnecessary or otherwise costs the travel fee.
Yeah. A reduction for permanent slot takes half. I'm not sure what that's referring to. I'm not gonna lie, Legacy.
It's the thing we're talking about.
Oh, just right now with the cost being 1,500 instead of 3,000.
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that's what it was, but I was like, we just went over that, so I don't know if it's the same. Yeah, a lot of the team members, community, were saying that the Civ slot doesn't really have a position anymore. It just feels unnecessary, and they're wanting to combine it with adventurers and just have everyone be adventurers. That is a bigger conversation, and one I'd rather have a large, proper meeting that's noticed and people have time to attend it and whatnot. But I still think Civs have a place.
So they have a
think-
place, but right now they're in a weird spot.
The issue is
Yeah,
just
I
there's
think
no
they
line.
have a spot. I think we should just remove them getting like actual class levels outside of citizen. Because at that point they're not what they're meant to be, which is like civilians.
Like certain civilians are stronger than some adventurers because they took like barbarian levels instead of civilian levels and the extra.
Gotcha.
The detriment of losing the 10 extra downtime days is not that big for them.
So maybe a system that would appease both sides then. This is going to be a bigger conversation, but maybe something like cannot take adventuring class levels, but I add into the Civ class feature, it's like maybe at levels 1, 3, 6, and like they're a version of expansions. They would get a class feature.
I think if you dumb it down to its core essence, the issue is they're just adventurer light that can't go on missions, and
And even then, they
people
can't go on
get
missions.
irritated by that because, well, civs will show up and then they'll RP for a little bit, and then they will not RP anymore, and a lot of things are required for civs, like for adventurers. Like there's downtime day options only civs can do. Like their whole purpose is, at least to me, is to be able to facilitate the idea of NPCs in the living world that you can interact with and then get stuff from and do trades and crafting and more non-combat stuff, but it doesn't seem to work out all that well when we have very little like impetus for them to actually RP because not much goes on in like the channels, and like there's not much for people to do if they can only text RP period, because it's not like we have anyone running like consistent NPCs. It's not like previous Living Worlds where we had just an NPC page where everyone had to run X NPCs and like someone could ping them whenever and you'd have to get back to them type deal. Because right now it's just people kind of meander in the channels they are and talk to people until they have nothing to talk about and then they stop RPing because they can't do anything else.
I think this is definitely a big issue to discuss. I just literally just had a thought on this that might apply pretty well. I'd want to get with a meeting with RP Events head though in regards to that.
I have no doubt this is going to be like a longer discussion. It's just those were my initial thoughts on the whole matter.
Yeah. I don't think the adventure levels are really a core issue so much. Like, it definitely causes some issues of like feeling of like, oh, I'm an adventurer, and I'm not as powerful as a civvy. Like, sure, that there could be that. But I think perhaps in response to launching Tier 3 and a wave and all that, before we do any of that, we want to look at our population structure. So we'll definitely want a meeting, a big one. I believe I can probably assign a good amount of time on Wednesdays if it's early in the morning. So, early for me, being a night auditor. Otherwise, maybe Sunday. This Sunday, let me look at the calendar real quick. This Sunday I will not be available. I will be on a vacation for my anniversary. Next Sunday I should be good though. So hopefully we can get it. This weekend's just fucking garbage. Well, we might have to do it next Wednesday for a big meeting, and I'll make sure I can set aside time to get this meeting set up. It would just have to be earlier, because I'm pretty sure I'm gonna be scheduled for work on the 27th at 3 p.m. my time, which would be an hour from now, which means I would need to leave from 5 minutes from now.
Well, when in doubt, just toss a crab fit in the meeting channel with your availability, and we'll just have to see who all can work around that and try and get as much as we can done. And hopefully Legacy can transcript the rest so everyone else can at least get a gist of what was going on in the meeting.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, my thought is when it comes to civvies, that might also help the issue that you're talking about, Ember. Yeah, they can already go on missions. It has to be a civvy slot and it has to be tied to the particular slot itself. So it's very unique. And I'm just throwing this out there so I don't forget. I'm not saying we should discuss it now. Perhaps have civvy slot be as it is currently with an additional tie to it. Where I'm trying to think of how to word it. It doesn't feel weird. And this is going to require big introductions with RP events. Civvies remove access to the core classes. They get maybe some core class features, potentially. Or maybe we keep it as is and it just functions as is. That's another discussion. However, big thought I just had would be civilian as a slot provides as a secondary character slot for adventurers. Only if it's placed in a region that they are not allowed to RP in. So it's an opt-in system. It will help liven up the world because they can play two different characters.
I think if you're going to do that, you're not I think that's a separate issue than what we're discussing here. If the issue
it's a
is
multifaceted issue.
No, if the issue is that we don't think that civilians in the civilian slot are achieving their goals, then the answer shouldn't be to add more civilian slots. It should be to somehow fix the current existing civilian infrastructure.
I think a lot of it boils down to just the fact that They don't have anything to do because they can't go on missions, and the whole point of this server is we're playing D&D, so most of it is we're going on missions to uncover plot points. Yeah, yes, we have the one or two researchers like William that get to do researching on stuff, but they're very few and far between. And then we have Raksha, who's a smith who very rarely does any smithing things because most item rewards are better than what he can make. Um, and it's like we have the very, very rare RP event, and we don't really have much like reason to do any kind of text RP um, because nothing comes of it. It's not like I can go to a town and do a little mini
So
event by paying staff or anything.
yeah, this is why I
But we don't
wanted
have NPCs.
a bigger meeting and why we really want to get with RP events. Because my idea was that RP events specifically have set up for these civilians, so they are directly tied with staff, these like opt-in slots. So it, lightens the load for RP events. We have to run all these NPCs. It is a way to encourage RP in the world, and it ties in these civies so they feel like they have a purpose to missions and like for things of the world. That all said, like I said, it's literally just a thought, so I don't forget that it was an option to discuss. I imagine we have other big things to discuss that I would rather have RP Events team lead here, and this feels very impromptu meeting because it was never like added, so I don't want to like go into too much of the weeds.
Yeah, so sorry for getting off topic. The only other major thing I wanted to bring up was just the like a sigil mage, arcane initiate, all that stuff that was brought up last meeting for like what you wanted as
Yeah,
suggestions for some of the things there. Because I just put a couple random generic options for arcane power feature. And I don't know if the intent is to have each different school of magic have a different specific special ability, and that's what differentiates them, or if we're just doing it because there's like 8 different schools of magic, or if it can just all really be condensed down to 1 or 2 different feats, then it's just a pick and choose which class of magic you're going.
I would.
It like the actual the meeting to do list work in progress has
I
all
just
the
saw it.
information.
Yeah.
I just
For me, for those in my head, it would be better to have them all have like a special thing to differentiate them, so it's not just
yeah. So
oh
that was
the
my
the
original.
the arcane guy is literally just like the occult guy for some reason. It's the same thing, but you just get different classes. That would just be boring. So
Well, yeah,
giving them a little
that's why I
fancy thing.
assumed the intent was for arcane power, and like I renamed some of them, but not many, um, to have different features. Because like I assume if you're like primal magic focused, you're gonna have different abilities than an arcane focused. But I just
Yeah.
wanted to bring up because I don't have ideas on what to stick in those slots.
All right. Looking this over. Repeat what the question on this was. Now that I've had a chance to look it over. Sleepless.
You muted yourself?
Truly a cursed existence.
I think Sleepless is typing to Legacy, but I believe he was
Maybe
asking.
Yeah, I'm sorry, I was muted there for a minute because I had to deal with something. I just want to know, do we want all of the like arcane, initiate, divine initiate, all to have a different specifics like power for that arcane power slot? Like this is arcane focused, this is divine focused, this is primal focused, And then what do you want like for the power level of that level 4 feature? And then is there any other issues with any of those other options for the formatting? Because I just copied what you did for Arcane Initiate and Sigil Mage and then tried to make them all look correct. Like I didn't know what you wanted for the power scaling on the feature. That's why I left it blank.
Yeah.
I just gave a couple options.
I definitely think that having different options for the different sources of power would be good. And they should all be unique, tied to the individual source.
One thought I had was to make it based off of specific class resources that the arcane power or whatnot gets, but I'm not sure how that would equate because there's a bunch of classes on that class.
That is a big issue due to the nature that, especially with occult, because occult's so broad, there's not really going to be one unified class resource. So having it tied to that would be very difficult.
In that case, could you give me an example of an adequate power level just for any of them, and then I can use that to try and baseline for other features and get feedback later? Just so I know I'm not too strong or too weak of a feature. Because like I'm not too sure, and I don't want to go over.
So I do think, even though we just talked about class features are so different, the gaining levels of exhaustion to regain a class resource tied to the feat, it's a pretty good idea. I think a level of exhaustion might be a little too. It's in a weird area.
Like it could be changed from just a straight exhaustion level to the same as like a fate check where you have to make the DC 12 plus whatever.
Yeah, I think it would be a good option to like expand upon overexertion. Maybe like you make an overexertion check to do this unique effect. That would be a good option. I don't think that necessarily needs to be their specific arcane or X primal source power. I think that is a good idea that you have going for you. I think perhaps for that initial feature though, something to be flavored towards the individual thing. So for like arcane power, that draws on the spheres of arcana. So like positive and negative energy spheres. So maybe in that particular case have some form of creation and destruction theme stuff. So perhaps have I don't want to say minor creation, but like maybe like a conjuration like effect, or maybe like a partial resource. I would say that can do some basic resource, and you can do that for each one of these. So like arcane power, you gain a number of arcane points equal to your proficiency bonus. Copy pasta that. Primal power, you gain a number of primal points equal to proficiency, so on and so forth, and then those can do like
specific little
minor features. Yeah.
Okay, I'll make a list of like I don't know, like 3 or 4 different features for each one, then, and I'll try to get it for the next meeting at some point.
Cool.
Be it next week or the week after.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll just build that.
Yeah.
That's all I really need to know for that. Thank you.
Mm-hmm. Yeah. For Civ slots, they can only join a game if it has a Civ slot, which is not on by default. It has to specifically mark it as a Civ slot. The slot itself is not designed as like you're just another player, you're another adventurer. It is like, oh, you're a researcher that the party has to escort to the research location. So basically giving a civilian a chance to cameo in a game. It's essentially a cameo slot. It's not designed to be a full effective slot. And I think that's something perhaps that we need to have an adventure meeting to kind of hammer home what that is. Yeah, like I said, this is a bigger conversation that's really going to require more people who are tied to the individual things that this will be discussed about. But yeah, right now moderation action, we do have people who might be losing slots. But if it's downgraded from adventurer to civvy, it's not really that much of a loss. People are thinking. I still think it's a loss because they can't play in games anymore. And if people are like, "Oh yeah, I have a civvy slot," and it's just like a normal player slot, that's an issue on adventuring team that I need to address.
But the point is that they can still come into like RP and just fuck things up as a civvy.
Yeah, I mean, then they get slapped again. They remove from the game entirely. Like if you are slapped for being an asshole or something like that, and you continue to be an asshole, it's going to be very quick when you're just removed and all the things you just did to be an asshole or just retconned. So I think that's not really an issue. Yeah, they can cause havoc as a civvy, but if they're going to immediately after being slapped do something to get slapped again, then we just ban them. Or, more accurately, we follow the system we have in place, which will, cause them to be banned. So I don't think that's really an issue. If they realize they did something wrong and they got slapped for it and they pull back and, they act proper, then, we're doing what the system's supposed to be doing. If they are an asshole about it, then we slap them again.
Slightly unrelated to this topic, but for balance purposes, is there any issues with someone stacking a bunch of features and then just getting like a 1d12 bite and claw with a bunch of properties at level 1 to 3 without even interacting with the equipment guide, or is that something that should be looked at? Because you can currently do that with like Ashen and Barbarian and Wild Soul and racial starting class or like
Yeah, so a lot of those features I need to look at and make sure that they are not stackable.
Because I've already brought that up, and I was gonna just have it with like a wording where you can't stack these with other ones, and Kate was fine with that, but there's just been some discussion overall on that.
If we need a hot fix for that, then feel free to slap it in patch notes.
We already had a hot fix for it. We just got to put the word in there and it's done.
Yeah, just slap it in patch notes. Call it a hot fix. Things like that you definitely don't need my input on. Just slap it in a hotfix. If it's something that's so detrimental to the enjoyment of the game or something like that.
I just had a lot of pushback on it, so I thought I'd just bring it up now. And
whoever's giving pushback, they're probably people who benefit from it.
But it was just because you can get like a 3d6 nat weapon at level like 4. It's kind of silly.
I don't think. Look. Personally, I'm the person who gave pushback on that, and it's mainly because, like, most of these features usually asterisks give like 1 to 2 damage. Like, if you're improving from like a D10 to a D12, it's 1 damage per hit or something. Whereas most of the damage often comes from something like style feats or something like that give in the example like 15 plus damage per hit, or not per hit, per round. We could absolutely nerf like Primal Soul and stuff like that. I just don't think it will do much in the whole equation of natural weapons.
So your pushback is less. It's not. There are bigger issues as your pushback, and those should better be addressed than this one, which is very minuscule in comparison.
I think after some arguing, I'm like, maybe it's best if we do it, but.
main thing is I want to know like how strong do we want players to be without interacting with the equipment guide or like equipment in general? Because
There is a thing in balance philosophy that I need Nerf to review to make sure it's accurate with what he wants. But
Yeah.
So again, I just want to know: is it okay if we have people with like a 3d6 natural weapon with no interaction with the guide, and they have like 5 or 6 weapon properties already because of stacking features from these class stuff? Like you can get 4
I
Well,
or 3 of them from Ash.
I
you
do
get
think
from Wild
um,
Soul Origin. Sorry.
when Heron is speaking, since they are balanced head, just please do give them a chance to finish their thoughts. But with the 3d6, it is definitely something that I would not want players to have access to at level 1 without build into it. Obviously, players are building into it, so it's a little give and take right there. I think for a fighter who builds into an exotic weapon, who like takes the things to go towards it, it's definitely viable. For someone who is like, I'm a natural weapon specialist, I took all the little things to get what I'm wanting to do. I think it could be viable. It just really depends on how they went about it, because for natural weapon users, it's a lot harder to have upgrades from the equipment guide. So having that initial baseline, you just mechanically you're good. That's really easy to achieve. But for upgrades from the equipment guide, it's a lot harder than would be like if you're a fighter and like, oh, I have this magical sword. So
I guess
I think
brawling or monk feature will be kind of the determining.
Yeah, so the main reason I brought this up is because if you take a single dip in monk, let me just bring up the numbers real quick. You get off the top of my head, you get attack, you get bonus action attack, you get swift attack, and then you can flurry. And then once you hit level 5, you get attack, you get extra attack, you get bonus action attack, you get your swift attack, and then you can flurry again, I believe. Or no,
Yeah.
sorry, it's not bonus action, but it's 2 weapon fighting, and then you can flurry for even more. So you get at level 1 you get 4 attacks, and then at level 5 you get like 6, and you can get like a 3d6 base natural weapon. And because it's martial arts and you only need a 1 dip in monk, you've now all of a sudden got 7 or more attacks if you go even slightly into the reactionary builds.
Yeah, but we shouldn't be basing our balanced decisions right now off of monk, which still needs work to be done on it.
It was just a single example. We already have people using the Panther build or Jaff
Yes.
see back in the day.
Yes, and
where
that's
they already have
most of those, I believe, are like abusing style feats, which I think are busted.
It's just Barbarian using the Frenzy to get extra attacks, and then Ashen has their shenanigans. I just wanted to bring it up to see what the opinion was on that, because I'm fine if you want to allow stacking. I thought it might be a concern for damage considerations.
I think for stacking, I'm generally opposed to a lot of things stacking, which is why you'll see like quality and magical effects don't stack. So like accurate +1 to hit does not stack with magic weapon +1 to hit. So I think that's an easy hotfix to add. I do agree with Red Heron that these style feats are a bigger cause for the imbalance. So let's hotfix those stacking, make it so they don't stack anymore for right now, and let's push up style feats. And I know you guys are talking about a few other things that are a trigger for this issue. Let's put those on a docket and get those in balance team to look at. I know Ashen does have some issues with how they can build, because they can achieve some pretty powerful weapons at level 1. I think that might be fixed with the equipment guides update. Maybe I have to look at it. It's been a hot minute since I looked at Ashen. Not gonna lie.
I haven't actually built an Ashen weapon that isn't natural, because it's generally too hard to get materials that are going to benefit. You can definitely stack a lot of qualities just off a base thing if you have like a crafted custom weapon, and then you just stick it into your armament though.
Yeah.
Which is a concern for sure.
Yeah, no, I think that's like converting a pre-made weapon into like an Ashen weapon does hold some issues. I just really didn't want them to be like, oh, I found this really cool sword, but I'm an Ashen, so I can't use it.
I think the way to fix it would just be to limit the amount of features an Ashen armament can have based on the level.
That could be good. Yeah, something definitely to discuss in a bigger conversation for Balance Team. I think in a Balance Team chat before it's brought up to a meeting like this. But it's good to bring it up now, so it's at least aware that we need to have a thread for it. I definitely think the sling shotgun combo wombo is something to look at as well. So some of these like smaller things, I definitely want to be looked at. Have balance threads. I do keep an eye on Balance Team chat pretty heavily, even like I wake up and I check my Balance Team chats to see what's going on. If I'm really fucking busy, I'll keep an eye on them. And I know it was discussed, and I did edit it in my crafting guide for slings and shotguns. I think that fixes the issue. I do want that tested again, though, to see if they're still broken. I don't know. It's really hard to say until it's tested, to be honest, live for a lot of these things. But I would definitely add a little hotfix for stacking. Let me go and mark this as not visible so I can on that link. Let's see here. Da. I think when it comes to like the natural weapon stuff, perhaps just give me a list of all of them so I can make sure they're up to date with the new equipment guide, because a lot of these don't even have any of those rules listed out. Which you'll notice that the Imperial Dragonborn, they do have the updated crafting system rules, so a lot of things are outdated and probably overtuned or undertuned tied to that. So like I think Lizard Folk has a D6 bite maybe, and that's
do you want like races included as well?
Races, features, classes, items, anything really. It's a big ask, so I understand if you're like, I don't want to.
No, I'll make a balanced discussion for it and work on it, because I have a lot of them already listed out, because again, I'm in max theorycraft dumb builds all the time.
Yeah, I did see Paladin was added to me recently. I woke up and I was like, oh, Paladin's in discussion boards.
I was arguing with Heron about Paladin because I argue a lot.
Yeah, we do have a question for you on that if you want to do that now.
Yeah, if you have time for that.
My brother is on his way over, so whenever he gets here, because I have to let him into my pool, I will have to leave. Until then, though, I'm here. I honestly did not know he was coming over.
The main disagreement between me and Heron is removing alignments from paladins because they're, in my opinion, integral to the gods.
Or adding them in because they're not in 5e.
And just what your opinion is on that.
So my opinion for paladins is they don't have technically strict alignment requirements. Technically, the barest technicality. The big issue here is the fact that I've been very slow at helping get Divinity up to snuff, because I'm a banana. Because paladins need to follow the tenets of the DD.
Yeah, so my argument was alignment's important because two evil gods are going to have different tenets or sins or edicts or anathemas, and you need to follow those. Because like multiple gods are going to be evil, but they're going to have different versions of evil because no two people have the same morals and ethical outlook, obviously. But, like, that's my perspective.
Yeah, so go ahead.
What is your system that you want here, Ember? Or Sleepless?
So I like the way it works now. You have Transact. He's lawful evil, and he has his like, as I posted in the thread, he's got his sins and his edicts. And if you do a sin, you get in trouble with your god. And if you do an edict, that's what you're supposed to do as a follower of this lawful evil god.
Yes, but that should be separate from the paladin class itself. Like, that's I'm a follower of this god. Here I have like, if I do a bunch of sins from this god, then I'm gonna get kicked out from following that god.
And that's why I linked the causes from Tui, because it's the most similar thing I could think of that's similar, because you have
Well, if you
you have
sorry.
your oath, which is based off of your cause, and your cause relates to your god. It's either holy or unholy, or it's like justice or obedience or liberation, whatnot, and they have different
Yeah, real
things for
quick to answer Kyomen and kind of just giving people an idea of the divine classes and the philosophy of Syrik tied to those. Yes, every divine class, the power comes for their deity or their patron or whatnot. I think the only exception is really Oracle, who is more cursed by a particular deity. So they have a lot more wiggle room to, get around those things.
You did mention before that if a paladin gets to double levels, like 10 plus, that they can essentially power their own stuff, and they don't need a god. Like if they lose their god,
At a certain point, I believe level 10, maybe it's level 12. I don't remember exact level, but it's definitely the double digits. All divine classes can utilize their own divine spark because they're at that level to power the thing. That said, that's not something that's really known. So it's something that you have to build towards. It would be more of like a character moment that you would find out. You don't just hit level 10 and you're like, I don't need my god anymore. For example, in the Lost Fable campaign I ran years back, when all the gods fell and I had several divine classes in my party, they all were basically just commoners at that point. For a good, week in game, I think. I think it was a full week or something like that. But they found a character who they did like a ritual with. It was a whole RP moment, and they skill challenged their way and found out how to unlock that divine spark within themselves. So it wasn't just I'm level 10, I can do this now. Again, that's something I need to get with the Divinity team for just fucking new job and everything. Anyways, that's neither here nor there. Big thing, every divine class is tied to a deity. As Ember was saying, at a certain point, they do have the opportunity to not be tied anymore because of their own power level, essentially. It's just that power level does require some unlocking. Now, if they're like level 20 and they're like, hey, can I just do my own thing? I'll probably be like, yeah, sure, you're level 20. You can kill a demigod and, be fine. So, sure. But, if you're just barely hitting level 10, level 12, whatever that unlocking point is, I don't remember what it is, that level that lets you do it. You definitely need something to really realize that spark within you. So, yeah, for any divine class, they are tied to their deities' ethics, their ethos, their tenets, their sins, and whatnot. And those will be the things that really drop you from that class. The alignment system, that is more for, at least in Syrik, it's been more towards outsiders and entities that are innately of that alignment. Now, if you want to make it so paladins have to be of an alignment, I will then argue that I'm not opposed to us doing that, by the way, Heron, since I believe you're the one who's advocating for it.
No, I would like to make anybody take Paladin regardless of their alignment and not have any restrictions on the features that they could take.
Gotcha. Then yeah, that's how it currently is that they would be not restricted to alignment, they're just restricted to the tenets of their deity. My big issue right now is that a lot of the tenets are not listed, because I really need to help Divinity team get those set up.
So like, right. If a paladin were to break the tenets of their deity or whatever, what happens?
If a paladin were to break the tenets of their deity,
okay. are the tenets of their deity and the tenets of their class different things? First up.
So the tenets of their class, their subclass, that is their oath. If they break that, they would essentially lose their subclass. They might gain access to the ability to become an oath breaker, but that oath breaker is specific to a deity who would offer that choice.
Okay.
The tenets of the deity would lose access to the class as a whole, as per the devotion feature.
And then if they, alright. And then they could potentially gain it again if they got a new god or.
Oh yeah, no. If like you're a follower of, let's say, Andrea, and you piss Andrea off, maybe you break up two siblings who are sisters, and it's a very similar thing. I don't know, something like that. You piss her off, and then there comes along Asmodeus. Is like, hey, I heard you need a deity. And you start following Asmodeus. Yeah, you can become an oathbreaker under Asmodeus.
I believe this has already happened to a warlock named Asasis, where he lost access to his patron because he didn't follow their shtick and broke their tenets, I believe.
Yeah, so they're probably right now suffering from the devotion feature, which is saying that they don't have access to a lot of things until they get.
Had to just re-level something else entirely.
No, they chose to be an oracle instead and broke stuff that they shouldn't have been doing.
Did they like re-level out of warlock, or?
That was the whole thing of they were trying to change to oracle, but they were a patron of the Great Old One.
I think there was some controversy around.
Is this like an ongoing issue right now, or is this like something from the past?
This is something from the past.
Gotcha.
Yeah, I was just referencing it because we were in the discussion of you can lose your paladin stuff, and
yeah,
I was under the impression he had lost his warlock stuff due to the breaking of tenants, not swapping to oracle. Yeah, shenanigans.
Gotcha. Well, yeah. If someone breaks their tenets, then they are suffering from the devotion feature until something comes along to help that. Whether that is themselves atoning, themselves finding a way to break free of that essentially divine contract between themselves and a patron or deity, or them finding another deity to basically cover their asses. So that is the big give and take with like divine and patron type classes, where like a wizard or sorcerer or something like that, they're just like, I have magic, I'm cool. Puts on sunglasses. A divine caster, since they're tied to a deity until they hit a certain level where they can potentially realize their own divine potential, they at any moment could lose that power because it's given to them. It's not something that they have. They learn how to use it. They learn how to use it better, which is how they gain levels. But at any moment, your deity can be like, yeah, those 5th level miracles I let you cast? You can't cast those anymore. You're an asshole and I hate you. Or accurately be because, you killed children or something like that and I'm a good deity and that's fucked up. But, it's really just going to be depending on the deity. Some deities, like evil ones, will probably send assassins at your way if you betray them. So, yeah. My big thing is be careful if you're a divine class. And make your decisions, choose your decisions wisely. Especially if you follow an evil deity. Now, if you're like through in-game play, have an option to rebuild your class, so like maybe you unlock, I don't know, just from a recent thing, you unlock the speaker class, and you're a warlock currently. That is a free rebuild. I'm not gonna punish you for that because you earned that unlock. So Whether that is your deity's like, okay, cool, I understand, or your divine spark is just powerful enough that you can, ignore the penalties, or whatever reason that we need to make it in character make sense. I don't care, for the sake of the game, and the fact that they unlock something, that they earned something. The word here is earned. Yeah, they can break free of the devotion penalty. But if it's like, oh, I am a cleric of Asmodeus and I broke a contract, like I turned on my word, yeah, no, you're gonna get slapped. Going back to the paladin thing, though, paladins should follow the deities that they follow as tenets, whether that is a deity or a patron. They should follow the tenets of those. If they ever break those, they suffer the devotion penalties. If they break the tenets of their subclass, they lose the subclass until they atone, or they become an oathbreaker, which requires a deity to allow an oathbreaker. So they'll have to find a new deity if their deity doesn't allow oath-breaking. Because like Asmodeus, if you're an oath-breaker, that was a bad thing, my bad. Since they don't allow oath-breakers, and they're very, very much against oath-breakers, if you were to break your tenets in your subclass, that would very much be a breaking of your tenets with the deity as well. You'd be both losing your subclass and your full class. Because Asmodeus doesn't fuck with that shit. Let's see here.
Do not have a video.
Oh, we don't have a guideline or anything like that. The class feature devotion does specifically say essentially to follow your tenets or suffer the consequences. So every divine class that has this, or every patron type class that has this, does list devotion as a feature, which was a big controversial thing because people thought that this was a new thing that we're implementing on them, which really was just stating what was already a potential thing to happen. So, anyways, it's listed there. Yeah. So we do have a class feature that does list the penalties if you fuck up.
Yeah, I was going to say, while we're on the topic of divinity stuff, recently Kilman has been working on a storyline in the northern end of Baruja and would like to tie it to the one god I had written up for the Myro Imperium, as well as tie it into that region's lore and stuff like that. So if you could, at some point, review the Bowl of Heaven and Divinity team, that would be mucho appreciado.
That's why there's 4 there. I remember there being 3 in Divinity team instead of 4. Yeah, I can give it a look.
Yeah, the fourth one is actually just an update to another deity because CJ was doing a research request into them, so I just figured I'd update them at the same time.
Gotcha. I can give it a look. I probably will have the time to do it tonight, or if not tonight, when I go in for night audit on Friday or Saturday. Like, I might not have enough time to work on systems during night audit because I'm still training. I definitely have enough time to look at my phone and scroll through text. So, I should be able to do that. I'm hoping I have enough time this Friday so I can actually do stuff because I'm itching to get back to work.
Yeah, I'm sorry, you have a lot of pings.
Yeah, it's all good. But yeah.
On the topic of divinity, hey Siddhams, can you make me a god?
Yeah, I still need to write that thing you asked for.
Thank you.
Yeah.
You know, I didn't have context for that, and I thought you were just asking for godlike power. And I was like, wait a second.
Wait a
It's that
second.
easy?
That's not fair. Why didn't I ask to be a god?
Yeah, he wants.
All right. My brother just got here, so I also have to go. But hopefully we can get another meeting soon. I will not be available Monday. Correct. I should be gone Sunday to Tuesday. Well, just full on not available. I will be back Wednesday, and hopefully I'll be back in time for a meeting. So if you guys want to run another regional meeting to like kind of finalize that Ruby Queen stuff, cool. But yeah, I do have to get off now because
Also,
they are
we need
now
to upload
inside.
the past like 2 meetings.
Yeah, thank you. I need to do that. Ping me like an hour, and I will post those. But yeah, I need to pop off. You all have a good one.